My name is Rafael. I am 34 years old, and I live in Pelotas, in Rio Grande do Sul. Today, when I look back at my journey, I still feel chills run down my spine when I recall that fateful night in October 2015, when my arrogance and stupidity led me to make the gravest mistake of my life, kicking an offering at the crossroads and drunken, reckless, challenging Trancaruas das Almas. What came next was a nightmare that nearly destroyed me completely, but also taught me lessons I carry to this day, engraved not only in my memory but in my very soul. Let me go back a little in time so you can understand who I was before that transformative episode. I was born and raised in Pelotas in a lower middle-class family. My father, Mr. Antonio, was a worker at a canning factory, and my mother, Mrs. Clusa, worked as a cleaning assistant in 3 different homes to help with expenses. We had a simple life, but full of love and unity. I grew up with my 2 younger siblings, Julia and Pedrinho, in a small house in the Fragata neighborhood, where everyone knew each other and the doors were always open to the neighbors. My childhood was peaceful, surrounded by street games, barefoot soccer on the hard ground, and river baths on hot summer afternoons. My parents were always very hardworking, but also quite superstitious and religious. My mother attended the Catholic Church every Sunday without fail, and my father, although not as devout, had a deep respect for the things of the beyond, as he used to say. I remember him always warning me, "Son, never mess with what you don't know. The spiritual world is not a game. Respect the crossroads, respect the rituals, respect the offerings. It doesn't matter if you believe or not. Respect is fundamental." But I was young, arrogant, and thought I knew everything. As a teenager, I developed a somewhat rebellious and questioning personality. Not that I was a bad kid, but I had that typical teenage urge to challenge, to prove I was strong, that I was afraid of nothing. My closest friends then were Marcelo and Tiago. Marcelo was the clown of the group, always with a joke ready, a tall, skinny guy with curly hair who made everyone laugh. Tiago was more serious, thoughtful, the brains of the group. He wore thick-rimmed glasses, had an intellectual air, and was always reading a book or talking about philosophy, science, and logic. We had been inseparable since 5th grade. During elementary school and the first year of high school, our friendship was rock solid. We studied together, played ball together, shared dreams and plans for the future. I wanted to go to college for physical education. Marcelo dreamed of being a comedian or actor, and Tiago had already decided he would be an engineer. Good times, simple, uncomplicated, where our biggest problems were getting good enough grades to pass and scrounging enough money to go to the movies or buy pizza on the weekend. My mother was always my biggest supporter. Even tired after a whole day of hard work, she would sit with me at night to help with my homework, encourage me when I was discouraged, hug me when I had a problem. My father, though not as expressive with affection, was an example of dedication and honesty. He worked double shifts when needed, never missed a day of work in his life, and always taught us that dignity comes from the sweat of your brow. My siblings were my joy. Julia, 7 years younger, was a sweet girl with big, curious eyes, always following me around the house like a puppy. Pedrinho, 5 years younger, was mischievous and full of energy, always getting up to something that made me laugh. When I entered the 2nd year of high school in 2014, things started to change a bit. The school was the Estadual Felix da Cunha, an old 2-story building with peeling walls and desks covered with names and declarations of teenage love. That year I met Amanda, a girl who had transferred from Porto Alegre. She was different from all the other girls I knew. Long brown hair, expressive green eyes, and a contagious laugh that lit up any room. Amanda was outgoing, confident, charismatic. In just a few days, she had won over half the school with her friendliness and cool attitude. I fell for her almost instantly. I spent the classes glancing at her, trying to summon the courage to strike up a conversation. Marcelo noticed my agony and always teased me, while Tiago, ever the practical one, encouraged me to just go for it. "Dude, you already have the no. Go get the yes," he'd say, pushing his glasses up with his index finger. It took a few weeks, but I finally managed to exchange the first words with Amanda. I discovered she was amazing, liked music, dancing, reading poetry, deep conversations about life. We started walking together through the school hallways, sitting near her at break time, exchanging messages on Facebook into the wee hours. It was that intense adolescent connection, full of butterflies and infinite expectations. But there was a problem. Bruno Henrique. Bruno was the typical school rich boy, the son of a wealthy local businessman who owned a pharmacy chain. He was good-looking, with a toothpaste ad grin, always dressed in brand clothes, drove his father's car, a silver sedan that had all the girls swooning, and was captain of the school futsal team. Bruno had enviable popularity, but also an extremely arrogant and cruel side. From the moment Amanda arrived, Bruno had his eyes on her. He made a point to walk by her every day, throw out pickup lines, invite her to parties, offer her a ride. Amanda was polite but made it clear she wasn't interested, and that, for Bruno, was unacceptable. He wasn't used to hearing no. When he realized Amanda and I were getting close, Bruno started seeing me as an obstacle, which awakened his darkest side. The provocations started subtly. Bruno would bump shoulders with me in the hallway by accident, make nasty comments about my clothes or worn-out sneakers, crack jokes about my financial situation in front of everyone. "So, Raphael, did you manage to scrape up enough coins to buy a snack today? Or are you going hungry again?" He'd say loudly enough so half a dozen people would hear and laugh. I tried to ignore it, swallow the anger, but each taunt was like a thorn digging deeper into my dignity. Marcelo and Tiago always stood by me, defending me when they could, advising me to ignore Bruno. "That guy's a loser, Raphael. Don't pay him any attention. You're way better than this spoiled rich boy who never worked a day in his life," Marcelo would say with his hand on my shoulder. Tiago added, "Bruno's insecure. He needs to bring others down to feel big. Ignore him, man. He'll get bored soon." But Bruno didn't get bored. On the contrary, things worsened when Amanda finally agreed to go out with me. Our first date was simple but perfect. We had pastel at a downtown snack bar, walked along the São Gonçalo Canal while talking about everything and nothing. And at the end of the night, when I dropped her at her door, she gave me a kiss that made my heart nearly explode. Those innocent first love kisses, but with the intensity only youth knows. At school, Amanda and I started dating officially. We held hands, had lunch together, exchanged notes during class. I was on cloud nine, feeling like the luckiest guy in the world. My mother loved Amanda when I introduced her to the family. "What a polite girl, my son. You chose well," Mrs. Clusa said, kissing my forehead with pride. My father just nodded in approval, but I knew he liked her too. Bruno, on the other hand, was furious. He couldn't accept that a girl like Amanda had chosen a loser like me, his words, instead of him. From then on, he turned my school life into hell. He spread cruel rumors about me, claimed I was with Amanda for her money, that I was an opportunist. He created a fake social media page pretending to be me, posting ridiculous and embarrassing stuff. On one occasion, he even tore up my math notebook and flushed the pages in the boys' bathroom. When I complained to the principal, Bruno had a perfect alibi, arranged by his rich friends, and I was the only one punished, receiving a warning for causing trouble and making up stories. Despite everything, Amanda stayed by my side. "Raphael, ignore that idiot. He's not worth anything. You're 10 times the man he'll ever be," she'd say, gripping my hand. That gave me the strength to go on. My parents were also crucial then. Seeing that I was shaken, coming home from school dejected, they sat with me and talked. "Son, there will always be people trying to pull you down, but you can't let them. You're strong, you have character, and that's worth more than any money that guy has," my dad said, with a firm voice and serious eyes. Even with all the support, 2015 was a tough year. I was in the 3rd year of high school, about to take the NM, thinking about college and the future, but Bruno wouldn't leave me alone. He had joined the same gym I went to, using a discount coupon, just so he could find me there and humiliate me. He'd throw weights near me dangerously, call me weak when I couldn't lift as much as he could, and make comments about my body in front of everyone. "Do you really think you're going to keep a woman like Amanda with that stick body? She'll get bored and run back to a real man." He'd whisper in my ear during bench press, making me lose focus and nearly drop the bar on my chest. That same year, 2015, I got my first job at a construction materials store called Casa do Construtor. I worked in the afternoons after school, helping organize inventory, serve customers, carry bags of cement. The work was hard, but the salary, though small, gave me a sense of independence and pride. My boss, Mr. Marcos, was a gruff but fair man, big-bellied and deep-voiced, who demanded commitment but recognized effort. He liked me, said I was a good kid, and had potential. At work, I met Patricia, a cashier colleague. Patricia was a woman in her 40s, friendly, black, with a big smile and gentle eyes. She was a Kardecist spiritist and always talked about energies, the spiritual plane, and the importance of balance. I heard her stories with some skepticism. I was too young and too arrogant to take it seriously. But Patricia didn't mind. One day you'll understand, Raphael. The spiritual world is much more real than you think. Respect the forces you don't see because they're always there, she'd say, counting the cash register. Amanda also got a job at a snack bar near the school, and on weekends we'd hang out. Our relationship was stronger than ever. We made plans for the future, talked about living together one day, having a simple but happy life. I was in love, and so was she. Marcelo and Tiago loved Amanda, and she got along well with them. The four of us were a tight group, always together, always laughing, always supporting each other. But Bruno remained a constant shadow, a thorn stuck in my existence. He started working at his father's pharmacy, and whenever Amanda or I passed by, he would make sure to appear in the window and wave mockingly. He kept spreading lies about me, trying to ruin my reputation. Some people believed him. After all, he was rich, popular, and persuasive. Thankfully, others knew he was just a spoiled jerk. Then that damned night in October arrived. It was a Saturday the 17th, a date burned into my memory. Marcelo was celebrating his 18th birthday and had organized a party at a rented farmhouse on the city outskirts, an isolated place surrounded by eucalyptus trees and the silence of the countryside, broken only by the sound of crickets and the wind. Loud music, open bar, and a lively crowd. Amanda was stunning that night, wearing a simple dress but looking absolutely mesmerizing. Tiago was there too, trying to let loose for once, which was always fun to watch. I drank a lot that night. I wasn't much of a drinker, but I was happy, relaxed, enjoying the moment with my friends and my girlfriend. Beer, vodka, energy drinks, all irresponsibly mixed. Around 3 a.m, the party began to empty. Marcelo, Tiago, I, and 2 other friends, Felipe and Jonas, decided to walk home since we lived relatively close. Amanda had left earlier with a friend. We were all drunk, laughing loudly, making noise in the empty street, feeling on top of the world. That's when we reached a crossroads. It was a typical neighborhood crossroads, dirt road, surrounded by simple houses and a weak streetlight barely illuminating the way. And there, right in the center of the crossroads, was an offering. Red and black candles still burning, flickering in the early morning wind. A bottle of cachaça, cigars, yellow farofa, pieces of meat, scattered coins, a doll made of black cloth, and a gourd with a strong, sweet-smelling dark liquid. It was a full offering, clearly serious and intentional. "Look, folks, Macumba!" yelled Felipe, laughing and pointing at the ritual. "So scary, huh? Does anyone here believe in that stuff?" Jonas mocked, already staggering from the drink. I should have walked away. Should have remembered my father's words, the respect he always preached. Should have remembered Patricia's warnings about the spiritual world. But the alcohol, youthful arrogance, and months of pent-up humiliation and frustration made something stupid and destructive grow inside me. I wanted to prove I wasn't afraid of anything, that I was strong, fearless. I wanted to shout to the universe that nothing could shake me, not Bruno, not anything. Before Marcelo or Tiago could stop me, I staggered over to the offering. "Macumba is for the weak. I'm not scared of this crap," I yelled, tongue slurred and eyes glazed. Tiago tried to grab my arm. "Raphael, don't do this, man. Leave it alone." But I was already blinded by drink and rage. I lifted my leg and, with all the force I had, kicked the offering violently. The gourd shattered, spraying the dark liquid everywhere. The candles went out on impact. Coins flew. The farofa scattered on the ground. The black cloth doll rolled away, seemingly staring at me with its empty button eyes. Then, in a moment of utter madness, supreme arrogance, monumental stupidity, I screamed at the starry sky. "Hey, Tranca Ruas! Yes, I'm talking to you. Come get me if you can. I'm not afraid of you, you coward. You're nothing. Macumba is a lie. Come get me, you puny little Exu." For a second, there was absolute silence. Even the crickets stopped. The wind died. I felt a strange shiver down my spine, but blamed it on the cold night. Marcelo was pale, looking at me like I'd gone completely insane. Felipe and Jonas gave nervous laughs. Tiago just shook his head, disappointed. "You shouldn't have done that, Rafael. Seriously, man, you shouldn't have." But I, drunk and foolish, just shrugged and kept walking, laughing as if I'd done the funniest thing in the world. The others followed in silence, clearly uncomfortable with what had happened. When I got home around 4 in the morning, I collapsed on the bed and passed out immediately, shoes still on. I woke up the next day with a terrible hangover. My head throbbed, my mouth was dry as sandpaper, and my stomach churned. But more than the physical hangover, there was something else. A strange feeling, a restlessness I couldn't explain. It was as if something had changed, as if an invisible door had opened and something dark had entered my life. For the first few days, I tried to ignore that feeling. I thought it was just guilt, or the effects of drinking, or maybe just tiredness. But things started happening. Small things at first. I'd start to see shadows at the corner of my eye, figures that disappeared when I looked straight at them. I'd hear whispers when I was alone in my room, low, indistinct voices that seemed to come from the walls. My dreams became disturbing. I dreamed of that crossroads, of the black cloth doll staring at me, of a tall, shadowy figure in a top hat and red cape, laughing at me with a frightening, cavernous laugh. A week after the incident, I started feeling unexplained aches. My legs felt heavy, as if I were dragging invisible chains. My chest tightened, making it hard to breathe. My hands started to tremble for no reason. I went to the local health clinic, took blood tests, x-rays, and EKG. All tests were normal. "You're in perfect health, Rafael. It might be stress, anxiety. Maybe you should see a psychologist," the doctor said, a gray-haired lady with reading glasses around her neck. But I knew it wasn't just anxiety. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. The shadows became clearer, more present. I would wake in the middle of the night feeling like someone was standing next to my bed watching me. I felt a weight on my chest, as if something was sitting on me, suffocating me. I'd scream, flail, and my mother would run into my room, turn on the light, and find me sweaty and trembling. "What is it, son? Are you having nightmares?" she'd ask, worried, holding my face in her hands. "I don't know, Mom. I don't know what's happening to me," I'd reply, tears in my eyes. Amanda realized something was wrong. I was more distant, withdrawn, scared. She tried to talk to me, get me to open up, but I was embarrassed to say what was happening. How could I explain I was being haunted, that I was seeing things? She'd think I was going crazy. Marcelo and Tiago also noticed my change. "Dude, you look awful. What's going on? Is it because of that night?" Marcelo asked, sitting next to me at lunch. "I don't know, Marcelo. I think I really messed up. I think something is after me," I confessed, voice trembling. Tiago, always skeptical, tried to rationalize. "Rafael, it's psychological. You feel guilty for kicking that offering and your mind is making up this stuff. You need therapy, not exorcism." But Marcelo, always more mystical, got serious. "Dude, you messed with Tranca Ruas. That's no joke. My grandma always said Exu doesn't forgive disrespect. You need to get spiritual help, fast." I didn't want to believe it, but I had no choice. Things were getting worse by the day. I started having panic attacks in class, sweating cold, heart racing, sure I was going to die. My grades plummeted. My performance at work also dropped. I'd drop things, zone out, make silly mistakes. Mr. Marcos scolded me a few times, concerned. "Rafael, you're not okay. What's going on, kid?" It was Patricia who finally opened my eyes. She noticed my heavy energy, my dead look, my restless presence. She called me over during a work break and looked deeply into my eyes. "Rafael, you're carrying something very heavy. I can feel it. Did you mess with something you shouldn't have?" I crumbled. I told her everything. The party, The drinking, the offering I kicked, my challenge to Tranca Ruas, the shadows, the nightmares, the unexplained pains. Patricia listened in silence, shaking her head in deep concern. My son, you have no idea the gravity of what you did. Exu is a powerful force, and Tranca Ruas is not a joke. He is the guardian of the crossroads, the protector of passages, and you challenged him directly. You need help, and fast. But what do I do, Patricia? I'm desperate. I can't take it anymore. I sobbed, not caring about the tears streaming down my face. You need to look for a Mãe de Santo, someone who understands Umbanda, Candomblé, who knows how to work with Exu. I know someone, Mãe Zilda. She is a powerful, serious woman who has worked with entities for over 30 years. She has a house of worship in the outskirts, in the Porto neighborhood. I'll give you her address and phone number. But you need to go with respect, with humility, with an open heart. You'll have to go through the rituals, accept the spiritual cleansing, and ask for forgiveness. A lot of forgiveness. I wrote down the address with trembling hands. Patricia still held me by the shoulders and said firmly, Raphael, don't wait. Every day that passes, it gets worse. Go as soon as possible. I got home that night and told everything to my mother. She was shocked, but differently than I expected. She didn't judge me. Mrs. Clusa was Catholic, but also believed in blessings, folk cures, and the spirit world. She had heard of people messing with things they shouldn't and suffering for it. My son, you were very reckless. But now there's no use in crying over it. Let's fix it. I'll go with you to see this Mãe de Santo. Tomorrow. My father, more skeptical, was worried, but agreed something had to be done. If it's hurting you, son, we need to find a solution. I don't understand these things, but I believe there are forces we don't comprehend. Let's do what needs to be done. The next day, a Monday, I skipped work and school. My mother also skipped her job. We took 2 buses to get to Porto, a humble neighborhood with dirt roads, simple houses of wood and brick. Mãe Zilda's temple was in a small house, painted white and blue, with a yard full of plants and leafy trees. There was an iron gate with painted symbols I didn't recognize, and a discreet sign, Terreiro Casa de Ocala e Ogum. We knocked, and were greeted by a young woman with long braids and dressed in white who led us inside. The house was simple, but full of energy. Catholic saint images mixed with statues of Oryxas, colorful candles burning, the strong smell of incense and herbs. The walls were decorated with strings of colored beads, and in one corner there was a small altar with offerings of fruits, flowers, drinks. We were shown to a small room where we waited for a few minutes. Then the door opened and in came Mãe Zilda. She was a black woman of medium height, about 60, wearing a long white dress, a white turban on her head, and many strings of colored beads. Her face was serious but serene, and her eyes were deep, as if they saw far beyond, as if reading people's souls. There was a magnetic presence about her, a silent authority that made you instinctively bow your head in respect. Sit down, she said, firmly but kindly, pointing to 2 simple wooden chairs. We obeyed. Mãe Zilda sat in a wicker rocking chair, watching us in silence for a few seemingly endless seconds. I felt she was examining me spiritually, sensing my anguish. You messed with something you shouldn't have, she said, not as a question, but a statement. Her voice had no judgment, just a statement of fact. Yes, ma'am, I did something terrible. I was drunk, I was angry, and I kicked an offering at a crossroads. And I challenged Tranca Ruas. I admitted, feeling a huge weight on my chest as I said those words aloud. Mãe Zilda closed her eyes and shook her head slowly. Exu Tranca Ruas das Almas, one of the most powerful guardians of the crossroads. And you, in your ignorance and arrogance, challenged him. You have no idea the gravity of this boy. I know, Mãe Zilda, I know I messed up. I'm paying dearly for it. Please help me. I can't take it anymore. I'm being haunted, seeing things, having terrible nightmares, feeling pains. I'm going crazy. I begged, tears pouring down my face. My mother held my hand, also moved. Please, ma'am, help my son. He's a good boy. He made a mistake. but he's sorry. Do whatever you need, but save my boy. Zilda opened her eyes and looked at me intently. I can help you, but it won't be easy or quick. Exu is demanding respect. He put a heavy burden on you. Each day that passes, it gets worse. You'll need full spiritual treatment, herbal baths, rituals, atonement offerings, and incorporation sessions to ask Exu's forgiveness directly. You'll have to show real humility, sincere remorse. And even then, there's no guarantee he'll accept your apology right away. Exu is just, but also harsh with those who disrespect him. I'll do anything, Zilda. Anything. I just want this to end. I just want to live in peace again, I replied, desperate. Then so be it. We'll start today. I'll need some things. Here's a list, she said, getting up and grabbing a pen and paper. She started writing, reading aloud as she did. 7 types of herbs: rue, guinea, rosemary, basil, St. George's sword, nobody can hurt me plant, and alfavaca. 3 white candles, 3 red candles, and 3 black candles. A bottle of good cachaça, not just any rubbish. Quality cigars, a red rooster, dende farofa, dende oil, honey, new coins, a red cloth and a black cloth, and... She paused, looking straight at me. Something personal of yours, something you use often. Could be a cap, a shirt you love, sneakers, something that carries your energy. My mother wrote it all down. How much will this cost, ma'am? She worried, given our tight budget. The spiritual treatment itself is free. I don't charge for my sessions and work, but you'll need to buy the materials for the offerings and rituals. It'll be around 200 reais, maybe a bit more depending where you buy things, Zilda explained. 200 reais was a lot for us, but it was my life at stake. My mother nodded. We'll manage, ma'am. Don't worry. Zilda handed us the list and continued. Buy these things and come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. We will do the first cleansing bath and atonement offering. I'll also need some items I won't tell you about, as they involve elements I can't reveal. That's part of the ritual and the tradition. Trust me. We trust you, Zilda, my mother said respectfully. Before we left, Zilda took a glass of water, closed her eyes, murmured some words I didn't understand, and made the sign of the cross over the glass. Then she gave it to me. Drink. It will give you some temporary relief. I drank the water in one gulp. It was only water, but I felt a strange sensation, as if something heavy was being lifted from my shoulders, even if just for a moment. We left with the mission of getting all those items. My mother called my dad, explained the situation, and though worried about the expense, he agreed to help. We spent the whole afternoon chasing the herbs at a religious shop, candles at a market, cachaça and cigars at a liquor store. The Red Rooster was trickier. We had to go to a farm on the city outskirts where a man sold chickens and roosters. I also brought a cap I wore a lot to be the personal item for Zilda's ritual. We got home exhausted but with everything needed. Amanda called, worried because I missed school. I told her everything. She was scared but supportive. I'm here, love. You're not alone. We'll get through this. Marcelo and Tiago also called. I told them about Zilda and the rituals about to begin. Marcelo sounded relieved. Thank God you're getting help, man. I was very worried. Tiago, still skeptical, said, if it makes you feel better and brings peace, it's the right path. That night I slept a little better, thanks to the blessed water Zilda gave me. There were still nightmares, but less intense. The next day, Tuesday, I got up, went to school, tried to keep up the routine, but my mind was entirely on what was to come that evening. At 6:30, my mother and I took the buses again, carrying 2 bags of all the items. We arrived at the temple exactly at 7. Zilda was waiting, dressed in ritual clothes, a full red and white skirt, a white bodice, even more beads, and the turban. She led us to the yard where there was an open space surrounded by trees, lit by candles and torches. Put the items on that table, she instructed. We did as told. Zilda began preparing the herbal bath. She took a large clay cauldron, filled it with water, and started adding herbs one by one while singing in a language I didn't understand. It sounded like Yoruba, one of the African tongues used in Candomblé and Umbanda. She crushed the herbs with her hands, releasing their oils and aromas. The smell was strong, a mix of menthol, earthiness, and spices. After preparing the bath, she lit candles around the yard in a circle. "Take off your shirt, keep only your trousers, and go barefoot," she said. I obeyed, feeling the cold night on my skin. Zilda picked up the cauldron and began pouring the herbal water over me, from neck down, while continuing to sing and pray. The water was cold, and I felt every leaf, every drop run down my body. She repeated the process 3 times, always praying. My mother watched in silence, praying her rosary. "This bath will cleanse the negative energies stuck to you. You need to do this for 7 days, always at the same time. I'll prepare a bottle for you to take and use at home," said Zilda. After the bath, she gave me a white towel and a clean white outfit to put on. "Now we'll do the atonement offering. You'll need to come with me to a crossroads." My heart raced. Returning to a crossroads was the last thing I wanted, but I knew I had to face it. Zilda carefully prepared the offering. She placed farofa, cigars, cachaça, honey, coins, pieces of meat she had seasoned, my cap, and some other items she didn't reveal, respecting the secrecy she mentioned, in a clay bowl. She wrapped it all in red and black cloth, tying it with care. We got into a car driven by a follower of the temple, a young, quiet man, and went to a crossroads in a neighboring area. It was a busy crossroads with cars passing by, but Zilda said, "The location doesn't matter, the intention and respect do." We got out, and Zilda told me to carry the offering. We walked to the center of the crossroads. She lit red and black candles in a cross. Then she made me kneel. "Now you will ask for forgiveness. With an open heart, true humility. It's no use just saying the words. Exu knows when it's real. Speak." I knelt right there with people walking by and looking, but I didn't care. Tears poured down my face. "Señor Tranca Ruas, I come here today full of regret and shame. I disrespected you, profaned an offering made with faith, challenged you out of arrogance and ignorance. I didn't know, I didn't understand, but that doesn't excuse what I did. I beg, from the bottom of my soul, that you forgive me. I am suffering, I am paying, but I own my guilt. I ask your pardon, Señor. I ask for mercy. I promise never to disrespect you or any other entity again. I promise to honor the crossroads, to respect the offerings, to spread this respect to others. Please, Señor Tranca Ruas, forgive me." Zilda started singing a song to Exu, clapping in a specific rhythm. Other temple followers who came with us joined in. The energy in that moment was intense, tangible. I felt something happening, a presence listening, observing, judging. After a few minutes, Zilda told me to place the offering in the center of the crossroads and walk away without looking back. I did exactly as told. We returned to the car in silence. On the way back, Zilda said, "It's a good start, but there's more work to be done. Exu heard you, but is still upset. We need more rituals, more offerings. It'll take at least 3 weeks." In the weeks that followed, my life became a routine of spiritual treatment. I took the herbal baths every day. I went back to the temple 4 more times for incorporation sessions, where Zilda received Exu entities and spoke to them on my behalf. Intense, frightening, but transformative experiences. I saw that little woman transform completely when incorporating. Her voice changed, her walk changed, her gaze became penetrating and authoritative. I spoke with Exu through her, begged forgiveness countless times, offered more gifts, more promises. Slowly, things started to improve. The shadows faded. Nightmares became less frequent. The body aches lessened. I felt the burden being lifted. Zilda explained that Exu was slowly accepting my remorse, but I had to remain firm and respectful. During this period, Amanda was my safe haven. She joined me at the temple a few times, took part in some sessions, strengthened me when I was weak. Marcelo and Tiago were there too, visiting, calling, reminding me I had friends who cared. My family was my foundation. My mom, dad, siblings, all surrounding me with love and support. Yet, as I fought my spiritual shadows, Bruno was still a shadow in my earthly life. He noticed I was weakened, absent, different, and intensified his provocations. He spread new rumors that I was turning macumbero, possessed, crazy. Some laughed, others looked at me with pity or fear. Bruno thought it all hilarious, but I no longer had the energy to care about Bruno. I was fighting a much bigger, much more important battle. Gradually, as the spiritual treatment progressed, I got stronger, not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally. After 3 intense weeks of rituals, baths, and offerings, Meinzilde finally called me for a talk. Exu Trancaruas has accepted your apology. The demand is lifted. You are clean. But never ever forget what you went through. Carry that lesson for life. Respect is the foundation of everything. I cried with relief and gratitude. I hugged Meinzilde, thanked her from the bottom of my heart. My mother cried, relieved. We did a last Thanksgiving offering, and finally, after nearly a month of hell, I could live again. The end of 2015 was about recovery. I focused on studies, caught up on grades, took the NM, and to my surprise and delight, scored well enough for public university and physical education. Amanda and I were stronger than ever. Marcelo and Tiago remained my best friends. I had learned a lesson I would never forget, but life still had a final twist for me. In December, 2 weeks before Christmas, something happened that changed everything with Bruno. He had gotten a part-time job at his father's pharmacy and was full of himself, acting like the manager despite being just an employee. One day, during a surprise audit by a sanitary authority, it was discovered that prescription medicines were being stolen from the pharmacy. Security cameras caught Bruno pocketing boxes of drugs to sell illegally. The scandal was enormous. The pharmacy was fined, nearly lost its license, and Bruno's father, furious and humiliated, not only fired his own son, but kicked him out of the house. Bruno had to give a police statement, was prosecuted, and his reputation collapsed overnight. The once idolized popular boy became the pariah of town. People who once idolized him now avoided him. He lost friends, lost respect, lost everything. When I heard the news, I felt no joy or satisfaction in his fall, only a pinch of pity and strangely compassion. I knew what it was to suffer, to be humiliated, to hit rock bottom. As much as Bruno had hurt me, I didn't wish that on him. 3 years passed. It was 2018, and I was in the 3rd year of college. Amanda and I had broken up amicably. Our lives just went different ways, but we remained friends. I worked as a personal trainer, happy and fulfilled. Marcelo really did go into comedy, doing stand-up and starting to succeed. Tiago was finishing engineering and already had a job offer from a multinational. One day at the gym, setting up a client's workout, I saw a familiar figure walk in. It was Bruno. But not the arrogant, cocky Bruno I once knew. This was a different Bruno. Skinny, bearded, dark circles, shabby clothes. He saw me, and for a moment, our eyes met. I saw shame, sadness, and remorse in his eyes. He approached timidly. "Raphael, hi, I don't know if you want to talk to me, but I need to ask you something." "Hi, Bruno," I replied, not hostile. "What do you need?" "I wanted to know if you could give me a chance to train here. I know I can't afford a trainer, but maybe I can do some volunteer work around the gym in exchange for using the equipment. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I messed it all up, Raphael, and I know much of it was my fault. My arrogance, my cruelty. I treated a lot of people badly, including you, and I wanted to ask your forgiveness." I was surprised. That apology sounded sincere, truly heavy. I looked at Bruno and, for the first time, saw a flawed, broken human being seeking redemption. "Bruno, I forgive you. From the heart. What you did hurt a lot, but I've learned to forgive. As for training, let me talk to the gym manager. I'll see what I can do to help you." Bruno's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Raphael. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me." I talked to the manager, explained the situation, and we made a deal. Bruno would do cleaning and maintenance 3 times a week in exchange for training and free guidance from me. He agreed immediately. Over the following months, I trained Bruno, and we had many long conversations. He told me how he lost everything, how his father won't talk to him, how friends disappeared, how he fell into depression and considered suicide. He told me about therapy, about seeking help, about trying to be a better person. I, in turn, told him about my journey, the crossroads incident, the spiritual treatment with my Zilda, the lessons I learned. Bruno listened with respect. Raphael, you're much stronger than I will ever be. You faced literal demons and came out victorious. I only faced the consequences of my own mistakes and barely survived. Bruno, strength isn't in never falling. It's in getting up after the fall. You're getting up. That's a big step. Now, in 2025, I look back on my journey with gratitude and learning. That night I kicked the macumba at the crossroads and challenged Trancaruas was, without a doubt, the greatest mistake of my life. But it was also the turning point that made me who I am today. I learned about respect, respect for other beliefs, respect for the spiritual world, respect for forces we do not understand. I learned humility. We're not the holders of truth. There is so much more between heaven and earth than our feeble philosophy imagines. I learned forgiveness, both to receive and to give, understanding that we all err, we all fall, and all deserve a second chance. My Zilda became a most important figure in my life. I kept visiting the temple, not as a follower, but as someone seeking knowledge and spiritual balance. She became a counselor, mentor, a second mother. Bruno, believe it or not, became a friend. Not as close as Marcelo and Tiago, but someone for whom I have real affection. He managed to recover, works at a sporting goods store, is taking administration online, and is slowly rebuilding a relationship with his father. Amanda moved on, married a great guy, and we still exchange messages occasionally, always with affection. Marcelo is a successful comedian doing shows all over Brazil. Tiago is a successful engineer living in São Paulo. But when he visits Pelotas, we get together and catch up. My family remains my foundation. My parents are now retired, my mother finally able to rest after so many years of hard work. Julia is studying education in college, and Pedrinho is in high school, dreaming of being a soccer player. I graduated, work as a physical education teacher at a municipal school, and also as a personal trainer. I have a simple, but full and happy life. I learned that true wealth is not in money, status, or power, but in the relationships we build, the love we give and receive, in the peace of mind we achieve. And above all, I learned that witchcraft, sorcery, black magic, pacts, all this exists and is real. It's not superstition, folklore, or fantasy. It's a powerful force that can both destroy and save. I was destroyed for disrespecting that force, and I was saved by a powerful Mind Santo who taught me humility and respect. If you're reading this and you've messed with things you shouldn't have, seek help immediately. If you know someone going through something like this, don't ignore it. Don't belittle it. The spiritual world is serious, and the consequences of recklessly tampering with it can be devastating. Respect the crossroads. Respect the offerings. Respect other people's beliefs. Respect what you don't understand. And if you ever make a mistake, as I did, have the courage to seek forgiveness, to humble yourself, to learn. Because in the end, life is a constant crossroads, full of choices, paths, and consequences. And it is up to us to choose the path of respect, humility, and love. And leave your comment below sharing your thoughts about this story. Have you ever gone through something similar? Do you believe in witchcraft and the power of shadow entities? Share your experience with us.